John, shalom. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
We are discussing while Israel is attacking in Yemen. How would you call this attack? How would you call the Israeli response in Yemen?
I'd call it overdue. I think that Israel is doing what the world should have done a long time ago, to include the $2 billion just since October 7th the Houthis have imposed on international shipping. Of course, the Houthis are attacking Israel daily this week, so they have to in self-defense, but that should have been a global response. And the United States and others are helping, but it's long overdue.
But do you think Israel should now focus on Iran as a way to deal also with the Houthis, or there is no connection between the two?
There's definitely a connection. The supplies that the Houthis have, which is, most people don't realize, a vast arsenal of missiles and drones that most militaries don't have, that it got from the Islamic regime in Iran. But I have seen news reports of people thinking you need to go there first. That's a much more complex situation. You know, the context in war, you have to take this capability away from the Houthis now.
How would you advise Israel to deal with the Iranian threat?
My personal opinion is that it would be a combination of military, economic, and other forms of power, but some military action will have to be taken to take the nuclear program back immediately. But it's a combination of efforts with a combination of nations. But some of that's overt military action, some of it's covert military action. But the program has to be rolled back.
From your point of view as a world-known expert, how would you describe the IDF job, the military achievements of Israel since October 7?
I'd say that they're unparalleled given the context that no military has faced in modern times, if ever. What the IDF have been able to achieve, and I've been into Gaza with the IDF 4 times, is, even from my own military study, unparalleled. I couldn't have imagined that they'd be able to dismantle the Hamas military. The IDF have been highly successful despite the constraints that have been put on them by the international community, which is also a reality of war.
So how do you explain the situation of the IDF today when we are mentioning all the achievements, the great achievements, to the IDF before October 7?
I mean, there's lots of explanations, and I hope that Israel comes out with those reports, much like the 9/11 Commission, where we do a very hard assessment of our military intelligence, national capabilities. The IDF before October 7th had believed in its capabilities. It was trying to do a smaller, more technologically advanced force. It was believing that Hamas wasn't the greatest enemy. You can't underestimate your enemy. There's such a long list of things, but this is what nations do sometimes. They believe in theories of war. They knew Hamas was planning an attack, but thought it was aspirational.
But do you think that this perception that, for example, the IDF and other Western armies believed in, that you can't defeat terror organization?
Yeah, there are a lot of nuances there. I mean, so I don't use terrorist, I use enemy force, because I believe there should be a framework of war here. There is this whole, you can't defeat the ideal of terror versus this is an enemy. Hamas was an enemy who had, Israel left Gaza in 2005. Hamas was the power. It was the political and military power. When people start to mix in the ideals of that group into defeating them, that's step 2. Step 1 is to remove them from power. So yes, there is some of that in previous to October 7th, the ideals about, what you have to deal with, like the social economic factions that are leading to terrorism, things like that. Before October 7th, absolutely, on how you deal with terrorism or an enemy at your, literally, that you can see across a gate and you thought you could contain them. But once the war started, you can't carry that forward. It's a war. You finish it to victory.
You know, you are an urban warfare expert, and you are also expert about military history. How do you think historians will write, or what they will write about this period from October 7 until today?
Yeah, that's interesting, as historians usually wait a long time before they write the history. I'm trying to be a part of that by writing about it. I mean, even what Israel did to Hezbollah should go down in history as one of the greatest campaigns to dismantle a military, even psychologically, in the history of modern times. It'll be interesting on those who write the books and what they say as the political nature that this war has had to be fought in the eyes of the world, which is also new in history with social media and things. I think, and I'll do my part, to write down all the historic achievements that this small nation surrounded by enemies have been able to achieve, not just militarily, but even diplomatically.
When you say diplomatically, what do you mean?
It's the fact that Israel diplomatically has managed strategic partnerships, especially the United States in a complex election year, but relationships with the Arab nations who are helping to defend it. Diplomatically, Israel has also achieved a great victory in maintaining, despite the lies that have been said about it, maintaining support globally.
John, is there something we are missing, we are not seeing about this war that you are noticing?
People in general are missing is that if they think this will be over anytime soon, then they don't understand the history of war. Gaza isn't some solution that anybody could have fixed in a matter of a year, 2 years. That's really hard for people to grapple with right now. That aspect and the psychological trauma of the hostages on strategic decisions. Of course, Israel knows this. Of course, Israel feels it every day in the hostage square, in the messages. But from an international context, when people say ceasefire now, what are you saying if you want Hamas to stay in power, still have hostages? This is there's a lot being missed here. But number one is if you think that this would have ended quickly, then you're not appreciating the history of war.
John Spencer, thank you very much.
Thank you.